Hey everybody, it's Jeff here with Entrepreneur Essentials once again. I'm here with my friend Joe Serio, and we are going to talk a little bit about Joe's business. And he's got a cool, amazing background that you're going to get to hear a lot about today, and how he became an entrepreneur out of all of this. Joe and I have known each other for probably 3 years now, and we actually wrote a book together on retirement planning for law enforcement officers, and we're both pushing each other to do another book right now individually. So you'll get to hear a little bit about that coming up down the road. Once again, right down below me always is our subscription button. Make sure that you click on that so that you get these updates as soon as the shows come out, and you will always be up to date on all the people we've got on the show. So Joe, thanks for coming, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
As always.
Good to be here.
Tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
My journey, well, in 2012 I finished my PhD.
Okay.
And I had to make a decision. Do I want to teach 18 and 19-year-olds for the rest of my life who are coming to class in their pajamas and not doing the reading and all that, and sit on committees and the politics of universities? Or do I want to do just what I love? And what I love is speaking, writing, training. And so the decision was pretty easy. So I jumped off. My wife said, look, I'll support you, and you do what you have to do because I believe in you. This is going to work, so go do what you have to do. So I started speaking 2 weeks after I left the university. I had my first speaking engagement, paid speaking engagement. I had set up the relationships while I was still at the university, and just started from there. And so I speak all over the country. I speak to primarily government organizations, sometimes businesses, on leadership-related topics. So we're talking about time management, emotional intelligence, overcoming fear. That's a huge one for entrepreneurs, right?
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
It stops us from doing what we need to do.
Sure.
And we come up with all kinds of excuses and procrastination and all that. Well, I was one of those people in my former life. And I realized after the first year or so of being an entrepreneur that I couldn't have that reflex anymore. Like I can't have that that just sit on the couch in front of the TV for half a day. Checks don't arrive in the mail.
That's amazing. You quit your job, they stop paying.
They stop paying. There's no insurance, and they stop paying you, and there's no money. How'd that happen? And you realize, after a little bit of trauma, you realize, hey, I have to do this day in and day out. So I started writing books. I started to get the Nerve series of books to help people deal with fear issues and leadership related issues, and those have been great. And I just it's just speaking right. And the whole part of the journey was, okay, how do I speak? How do I get opportunities to speak? Where's my money? Right? Where's my money? Who has my money?
Yeah.
And for the people that I wanted to talk to, I had to discover who they were, who were the purse string holders. And so the journey's been difficult, but up until now, so far, it's been the curve that you want. Right? So I've just about doubled business every 2 years. Okay. That's the trajectory we're on. So it's been traumatic, but not nearly as traumatic as it could be. And who knows what the future holds.
Well, and you're in what? Year 3, 4 now?
I'm in I think I just started year 6.
Okay,
actually.
so year 6. I mean, you're past those first couple of years of, hey, they're lean.
Yeah. The funny thing, if we talk about those first couple of years, you talk about the journey. I started in 2012. 2012, 13, and 14 was a lot of wheels spinning.
Sure.
And one thing you come to realize is you really have to get clear as soon as you can about what you're trying to do, who you're trying to serve, right? That's a huge piece. Well, I didn't do that.
No.
I got distracted. I made all the mistakes, right? I paid somebody $20,000 to be
teach you how to do this.
To teach me how to do it. They didn't teach me how to do it. And, we spent, I don't even want to, I feel bad saying this out loud.
Mhm.
I think we spent about $50,000.
I can imagine.
And we learned, of course. I mean, I can't say it was wasted, but there was no return on investment in an economic sense
No.
from that investment.
Yeah.
We learned a lot.
Well, I think you did one thing right out of the gate, though, is you started to set all this up before you quit your job.
Yes.
Which, I mean, that's, I think, where a lot of entrepreneurs lose out is, you go out there and okay, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to quit my job and I need to do this. Well, okay, there's no money and your business is probably not going to make you a lot of money in the first 2 years.
Yeah.
If any.
It's a huge point. It's so key because we think about entrepreneurship while we're dreaming.
Mhm.
And we don't know, because we haven't felt the realities yet. And we don't know what the curves are and the bumps in the road. And we just have an imagination like, I'll sit at my desk and I'll enjoy every minute of it. Well, you don't.
Yeah, no.
And it's tiring.
Yeah.
And things fall through and people cancel and contracts go down the toilet.
And people don't pay you.
And people don't pay you. And now the time that you thought you were going to work on a project, you have to go hunt down the money, the collectibles. So it's just, it's all those things. And you really have to prep and go in eyes wide open and go in with as many questions answered as you can, with as much clarity about what you're trying to do and about who it is you should be talking to. So very quick example.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking to government agencies, I was going after training coordinators. Well, training coordinators can only give you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000
Sure.
or 1 or 2 training engagements. But if you go up the food chain, you find out that they know where the money is.
Oh, yeah.
And they can get access to it, and they can bring you in for 10 trainings if you're going to be a trainer, or 20 trainings, which has happened to me, and all of a sudden it's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's figuring that out. What, for you, where was that inflection point?
December 2014. I could even, if I had my calendar, I could tell you the date. Because I was having a conversation, and I had been in this push-pull for those 3 years about, do I stay in government, which is what I was related to before, right? I was working with law enforcement and all that previously, or do I want to go into corporate or companies or whatever? And the 3 years I was hemming and hawing, which is why I say clarity is so key. Like, you have to make a decision and then go with that. And I didn't the first 3 years. And December 2014, I made the decision. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and things clicked. And when things click and you know where you're going, then you can focus. And if you can focus, then you can build the right website.
Sure.
And if you build the right website with focus, then you have the right language. And if you don't have any of that stuff, no one's coming.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, it's a niche. I mean, it's what we teach in a lot of our training here. It's find your niche, then you know how to speak to that niche. That's the problem, is that people try and use language that, and especially your example, you try and use language that the corporate world uses with governmental people. They don't get it.
They don't get it.
Yeah.
And they haven't been exposed to things other markets have been exposed to, and they don't have maybe the education, types of education that business people have. So you can't talk to everybody the same way.
No.
Which is why that classic example, you ask an entrepreneur who just wrote a book or has a great service, who is this for? And they say it's for everybody. It's like, no, it can't be for everybody.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It can't, because then you can't direct your marketing and you can't craft your language and all that stuff.
I think your Get the Nerve series is probably the only one that is pretty broad based. I mean, it really does work, but then you've gotten the books that are much more focused on specific areas with 911 and police and.
Yeah, and the funny thing about the Get the Nerve series that I learned along the way is the series is broad, so I've sold to all kinds of audiences if they ask, if they show up at my conferences, whatever. But law enforcement has purchased the Overcoming Fear book and the Time Management book even more than the law enforcement books, right? And it starts, then you get that data and you start realizing, I've got more information that I can now massage more material or offerings in the future.
Yeah.
Because the sales record is showing me what they're concerned about.
But it's good. It's nice because you've got a pretty broad-based swath of books that you could work from to be able to do that kind of testing. Not everybody's had that.
That's true. I got pretty obsessed, as you know. I mean, I did. I think in a total, I did 8 books in the series in less than 3 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And with the collaborations with you and 2 other guys, that sped it up a little bit. But I'll tell you what,
Still work.
Yeah, it's still work, and it's a lot of work. But to the point that we were just talking about, the books were designed to the market. So they're small, and our market loves small books.
Yes.
And they have a lot of white space, and they're quick to read,
Yeah.
and they're very accessible and easy language. My audiences love that.
Of course.
They
Yeah,
can
and
read it in 2 hours.
Well, and I mean, the beauty of it too is they're all written with, basically it's a 2-page chapter.
Yeah.
That's the it's 50 lessons on X or 50 lessons on this, and so it's a 2-page chapter. There's nobody that, even if you read slow, can't read at least 1 page a day.
That's it. It's you can read a 2-page chapter. It has a takeaway at the back of the book. You can remind yourself relatively easily. It has inspirational, motivational quotes in it, which people always love, and it's just, it works. It works.
Yeah.
And the point, I guess, and this is part of the journey too, right, is realizing that it wasn't really an accident. Right? The design of those books was not an accident. And that's one thing that entrepreneurs have to do, is understand, who am I doing this for, and let's not just throw everything up against the wall and see what sticks. Because it's going to take you a long time.
Yeah, well, or if you make a mistake, it's going to be, now you've got to you've got to tack back into it or whatever, and versus, okay, understand who your audience is, and then, write to that audience, speak to that audience, market to that specific audience, and it makes it much easier. So what's new in your world now?
What's new in my world? Well, I'm working on another book. I'm working on a book called Vodka, Hookers, and the Russian Mafia.
The greatest title ever.
Vodka, Hookers, and the Russian Mafia, My Life in Moscow. So it depicts the 8+ years that I spent in Russia. And I worked with the Russian, the Soviet police, and I was investigating the Russian Mafia. And I was the director of the Moscow office of the global leading corporate investigation business intelligence firm based out of New York, and I coordinated all their investigations in former Soviet Union.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
It's
cool.
the greatest title ever. It was the one email this month that when he emailed me, let me look at that one real quick.
And another thing about all these things we're talking about, when I'm introduced at a conference and there are 200, 300, 400 people in the audience, I put the name of the book in my introduction.
Sure.
And they say, his forthcoming book is Vodka, Hookers, and the Russian Mafia, right? And then I use that to watch the audience.
Yeah.
And if the audience smiles and laughs and says, "Oh, I got to buy that book,"
This is going to be fun.
then this is a good title. Right? We're going to keep that title. And you're always kind of probing and checking, what seems to work. How can I test it, especially inexpensively?
Sure.
And so this book is, I'm working on it now. I'm writing it now. People from every walk of life have the reaction to the book. So I'm writing it for a broad audience.
Sure.
And,
Well, and it's an intriguing time too that you're writing about that I don't think a lot of people here knew all the details going on there. I mean, we heard about it, but we didn't really get into the details. So looking forward to reading the early galleys on that one. So.
We'll get into some details.
Awesome. Some details, not all of them, but some. Yeah. So, fast 5 questions now.
Yes.
You wake up in the morning.
Yes.
Business is gone. You have
Yes.
$500 in your pocket, place to live, laptop, computer. What do you do first?
So I have 11 brothers and sisters. I'm going to go to them for loans. I'm going to find money to pay the rent. Quick.
That's
really
taken
fast.
care of. You don't have to worry about that.
So what I do is what I know was proved to work in the past.
Okay.
Right? Unless dynamic has really changed, then I'm going to double down and hunker down.
Okay.
And I'm going to call and get out to all my network.
All right.
But that would probably be the first thing I would think about.
Yeah, start leveraging the network you've already established.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. What's your biggest entrepreneurial error that you've made?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, right? The $50,000 that we spent the first couple of years. So to boil it down, not being really clear about who my audience was going to be, and where to find my money.
Sure.
Who is the right person? That was the single biggest thing that led to other problems.
And I like the way you term that too, is I'm trying to find my money that somebody else has. I think that's what people get in their heads when it comes to sales, is you get in your head, well, I'm trying to take money from this person. No, it's my money.
Right.
I'm just trying to get it from them, and I've got to convince them to give me my money.
Right, and they have to be the one with it.
Yep, absolutely.
So often we go to the wrong person. We go to the people that don't have our money, and we go to network events, and we go to meetings, and we spend time, and we spend money, and we're talking to people that don't have our money.
No.
Total
No,
waste.
It's completely,
Total
it's complete waste of time, and I think that's something you've got to do with networking groups. I mean, I've done this repetitively over my life. Is you look at return on investment. I mean, if you've gone to a group for 6 months or 3 months or whatever, and you've gotten really no return on investment, and you've actually worked it, then that's not the right place.
Right.
Or if the people that are there are not your ideal clients, or even deal with your ideal clients, then that's not where you need to be.
And when I had that moment in December 2014, I think I continued networking broadly in 2015,
Yep.
but then I had to wake up. And I pulled the plug on almost every single networking event, and even meetings. People would call and say, hey, you want to get together for lunch? I'm like, no. No. You have to learn to say no. You have to say no.
Yeah.
Because they're calling to go to lunch just to say hi. And it's like, you don't have that time.
Yeah.
In that hour, 2 hours it could be, right? By the time you drive there, you wait online, you get your lunch, those 2 hours, I can make 30 sales calls.
Sure.
I can generate tens of thousands of dollars in those 2 hours. So
Yeah.
what do you want?
Yeah, and it's at lunchtime when you might be able to actually catch somebody sitting at their desk.
Yeah.
That's the other part.
I can do cold emails, I can do warm emails, I can do hot emails, I can do cold calling, or I don't particularly care for absolute cold calling, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's a network. If you know your niche, then you know that you can approach.
And you've got people that are connected to that person that
Yes,
can help
yeah,
you
yeah.
get your foot in the door or
All
whatever.
about that. Relationship thing is huge.
Yeah, exactly. What's a good book that you would recommend?
I have been totally turned upside down
Okay.
by fanatical prospecting.
Okay.
By Jeb Blunt. Blount. Jeb Blunt, fanatical prospecting. It changed the way I schedule my day. It changed the way I think about sales. And it immediately had more sales coming in the door.
That's awesome.
Immediately.
That's awesome.
And so I got to the point where I booked in about a week and a half the same amount I made my entire first year.
In a week and a half.
In a week and a half.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, you got to do it. You got to do it. And you find
That's
out
the
that most
difference.
people don't do it.
Most people don't do it. Yeah, most people don't take action. Most people don't make the phone calls. They just kind of hope that things will happen and things will fall in the door.
Right.
What's a good tool that you use in your business every day? Maybe it's electronic, maybe it's something else.
I don't know if this is going to be an unusual answer or counterintuitive or whatever, but there are two tools that I use. One is my Google Calendar. The thing about sales and prospecting and success is that you must make time for it. So I went from scheduling meetings all throughout my day to blocking off the morning and not, to the extent that you can help it, not letting people have my morning. And say, okay, from 8 to 11:30, 12 o'clock, I can do thousands of dollars of selling. And if I do that every day, or worst case scenario, I'm out speaking and training, I can do it 3-4 times a week. That's a lot.
That's probably more than most people are doing. I mean, that's...
Yeah. And the second tool is an app called Calm. C-A-L-M.
Okay.
It's a meditation app.
Ah.
It gets me started in the morning. It helps me sort out my head on what I need to be focusing on. And it's just a relaxation tool. And it's great. It's got soothing music, it has guided meditation, it has all kinds of stuff that just helps to, get into it.
Yeah, get your mind into the game. And
you can pop it on anytime if you need it during the day, if you feel yourself getting stressed out in the evening before you go to bed, whatever. And it's not a traditional business tool,
yeah,
but those are super important.
yeah, that's part of the game.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just business tools are fine, but if you're not succeeding because you're all stressed out, it doesn't matter.
Yep,
At that
exactly.
point. How does everybody get a hold of you, Joe?
My website is joeserio.com, joeserio.com. My email is joe@joeserio.com. Feel free to drop me a
simple.
line.
Yep.
Yeah. joe@joeserio.com. And I have my specialty websites for my niche, my government niche, glttraining.com, which stands for Government Leadership Training. And I have other more specialized niches.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, I will tell you folks, if you ever get to hear Joe speak, he is probably one of the most enjoyable speakers. He and I got to know each other after I'd seen him speak the first time, and I always try and, if you see a good speaker and you are somebody that has to find speakers for different groups, I'd always recommend, making time to grab a coffee or something like that really quick, because it was kind of life-changing for me meeting Joe, because we had a conversation and it's all about the fear thing. And I said, well, Joe, one thing I'd always wanted to do is write a book. And he said, well, why didn't you? And, well, life, and no, why didn't you? Well, crap. And that got the whole thing started, and 2 books in and 1 more on the way. So I thank you for that. It, in the end, changed my life and made me do all of this as well. So I appreciate that.
Awesome. My pleasure.
All right, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Everybody, thanks for coming out once again. Right down below me is the subscription button, and as well as right down below Joe and I is going to be the show notes and links to Joe's website, the book he recommended, the tool that he recommended, which is awesome. I've got to try that one out. And we will see you guys here next week, right here, same bat time, same bat channel again. Have a great day.